Our mother came from a family of 10 children, 5 boys, 5 girls, and she was the oldest girl and the second oldest in the family. And it took me years to find out why my mother was such a good cook. Well, because, you know, being the oldest girl in a family that size, she helped her mother do a lot of cooking. And she graduated from the Martini Country School and had to make a decision. Do I walk 3 miles into Mecosta? Because in that day, it was an ag school that only went to the 10th grade with no bus transportation. And so she made a decision to go into Big Rapids and board and room with the family for 4 years. And she did that.
My mother and dad, my mother was going to Big Rapids High School, and she was a junior. And my dad had just graduated.
As the story goes, I think she met our father at a dance.
And his best friend and him went to the Third Ward School to a dance. And my mother was there. That's the ward she lived in when she went to high school, and they met her. And so he then, and he started dating her. And then he moved to Ashtabula, Ohio, to work on the newspaper.
And she graduated in 1931 from Big Rapids High School, and Dad in 1928. So he stayed in Big Rapids a year, went to Ferris, and then he decided to go to Ashtabula, Ohio, and take up an apprenticeship training in printing, which he did do for about a year. And then the Depression hit, and he ended up then going back to Big Rapids and getting a job at the newspaper there. And he finished his apprenticeship through the Grand Rapids Press. After she got out of high school, she went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and got a job working for an attorney.
And my dad at that time had an Auburn, a pretty fancy car that he paid a lot of money for.
Mother worked probably 1 or 2 years there in Grand Rapids, returned to Big Rapids, they got married. I think they got married in 1932 or 3.
They got married in Big Rapids.
And Morris was the first of the family. In 1935 he was born. And as the story goes, my mother and dad and Morris lived up on Spring Street with Grandpa and Grandma Andrews for about 5 years. And then they moved down to Woodward Avenue to live where we lived for the rest of our lives.